Okay, so tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in the disability community. Start by introducing yourself first.
Sure. My name is Candie Burnham, and my experience in the disability community has kind of taken a couple different paths. So on a professional level, I've been working in the disability community for about 30 years, and I've worked in a different variety of different roles, everywhere from doing direct care when I was 18, to being an executive director of a nonprofit advocacy organization when I was in my 40s, and everything in between. It's been quite an incredible journey. But I also have personal experience. I have two aunts and I had an uncle who had intellectual and developmental disabilities. And they were kind of what motivated me, not to like go in and help people, but as a kid, I really enjoyed spending time with my aunts and my uncle. And I always just kind of knew when I got older that I wanted to work with people who have disabilities. And so that's where I started. And then over time, I also received a diagnosis of my own disability. And my eldest son also received a diagnosis of a disability. And so at the end of it, it kind of like all came together that I had this very personal connection, and then some professional work as well that drew me to the disability community.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. So like I understand that you also work in the policy realm. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I somewhere along the line in my 30-year career, I realized that I really enjoy the policy side of it. Like I love the community and being with people and advocacy and all of that. But um, I also like the bigger picture, and how can we, as people who like public policy, for people who use services that public policy creates, family members, like how can we create a system that works for people rather than creating a system that people have to try and fit into? And that just kind of spurred me to take my career in a different path, and that I felt like I really could contribute to my community in a different way in looking at these bigger pictures. And so I do a variety of things. I love rules and statute, and I know a lot of people don't, but I find it quite thrilling. And I think it gives us an opportunity to really craft what we want to see. I have a great friend who is a prominent member of the disability community in Colorado, and also one of the lead ADAPT organizers. And she describes it this way: individual advocacy is really important because we all need it. We're all going to be in a situation where we're trying to advocate for ourselves to get our needs met. But that individual advocacy becomes so much more manageable when there's systems advocacy and public policies in place to support that. And it's so important then when you're doing that individual advocacy to really start looking for, is this like a one-off, or is this affecting a lot of people? And what can we do on that larger scale to really make it work for people?
Mm-hmm. My next question is, what other things do you do outside of the public policy realm, specifically in the disability community, or is it something different or?
Um, I mean, I suppose like just being a member of the community and trying to connect with my community in a personal way, and hold space for members of the community to be in my life in addition to like this professional way, because that's not the position I ever want to have. But I also, as someone with a disability, it gives me an opportunity to experience things in a different way than perhaps a professional would. And then of course, as a mom of an adult son who has a disability, um, I am also that parent who can be really challenging to deal with. I'm a fierce advocate, and I always make sure my son has exactly what he needs, and that takes a great deal of my time.
Mm-hmm. My next question is, are there any stakeholders that you work with, particularly in the public policy realm of things?
Yeah, when I was in a variety of different professional positions that I've held, stakeholders can be anywhere from elected officials to state government employees, federal government employees, to other advocacy organizations. I mean, there's these partnerships that you end up developing and these relationships that are really important in moving things along. But the the biggest, most important stakeholder, if you want to use that term, is us, those who have disabilities and rely on the services. And I think that gets lost a lot when we're talking about public policy and stakeholders and public comment, that at the end of the day, the only opinion that really matters is that of the individual. And I think it's important, whether we're a family member or someone who is paid to advocate for someone, that at the end of the day, it's not really important what we think and feel. And even as a parent, I often have to remind myself of that, of I have to check in with my son and ask him to tell me what's important, because I can just, I can assume what I think is important, but I may be really off base, and we all have to kind of check ourselves in that and know that we can kind of represent the collective, but we have to make sure we really understand what that collective is wants.
Mm-hmm. My next question is, what impact does your work have on individuals with disabilities themselves and like the greater community, the disability community?
Um, so I'm currently kind of in a hiatus, and some taking some time out for myself. Um, and I would say this sounds a little I don't know, maybe a little cliche, but I think anyone who is kind of working in the disability space, um, we all hope that our work is meaningful and has a positive impact on people. And so I certainly hope that the work I've done on a professional level for the last 30 years has really helped either craft systems and craft programs that advance and protect people's rights, that they're used in a good way and have really allowed people to live fuller, more meaningful lives. On a professional level, I have a lot of family members who reach out to me to get my thoughts and opinions on maybe a situation that they're encountering. And I'd like to think that I'm able to provide them with information that I have found helpful, but in a very objective way, of just kind of helping guide and maybe making them feel a little less alone, because sometimes it is really hard to navigate through everything. And I always have to remind myself that, I feel like I have a really good understanding of the services and systems and who to call and when to call. And if I have a problem navigating this, sometimes I have to remind myself that someone who is new, maybe a newly acquired disability or a family member who's just now starting to go through this, it's overwhelming, and it can be really hard and scary trying to make sure you have everything that you need. So I often, yeah, I think about those situations, and I hope that I make a difference for those individuals as well.
Mm-hmm. My last question is, how do you create an inclusive and welcoming environment for people with disabilities? From your perspective, I know that you said that you're currently on a hiatus, but
Yeah.
I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think, something is that people with disabilities even myself included at times, it's important for us to be able to ask for what we need in order to participate, that we feel comfortable asking for that, or we feel like it's a safe space to ask for those things. And I think one of the things that I always have to remind myself of, I at the time did this for a living, and I live it every day as someone with a disability and as a parent of someone with a disability. So I feel pretty comfortable asking and requesting and kind of pushing for the things that I think are necessary. But I have to remind myself that not everyone is. And so finding a way to create that space so people feel like they can ask, or if they don't know exactly what it is that they want or that they need, that there's an environment in which they can ask some of those questions and still get, a kind of some support in finding what works for them. I think sometimes it's easier to be an advocate for someone else than it is to be an advocate for ourselves, and really helping people kind of channel into that and find their courage to be part of that process and to advocate for themselves as strongly as they do for other people. But I will always put the disability community first, and I will always put the thoughts and feelings and experiences of someone with a disability before anything else. And I know sometimes it's a difficult space to be in if you don't have a disability, but to me, it's lived experience and personal experience far exceeds what any professional can communicate in a space. So I think it's just kind of opening it up and trying to break down the stigma a little bit at a time.
Yeah, that's good points there.